I have this distinct impression that there's enormous COVID fatigue out there. I talk to lots of people every day, off and on air, at all levels. And Sydney in particular is fatigued. Compliance to restrictions has been hard to come by, which is why in the past 3 days, the New South Wales Premier has ramped up the rhetoric and demanded adherence to the rules.
Given the number of people exposed in the community overnight, I'm anticipating the numbers in New South Wales will be greater than 100 tomorrow. Well, obviously, the numbers aren't going in the right direction. That's pretty obvious to everybody. Do not leave your home unless you absolutely have to. I can't stress that strongly enough.
Of course, with that heavy-handed approach and the realisation that 77 new infections will probably hit 100 tomorrow, maybe more, comes fear. And there are people I've spoken to this weekend, friends and family who live in those hotspot areas in Sydney southwest, that are literally shedding tears over the current situation. The massive police presence and the intentional attempts to crank up fear does make people frightened, especially in those areas. COVID fatigue from Victoria has now transitioned to New South Wales. And so I just wanted to make a few salient points on the program at the beginning tonight, especially aimed at those who don't handle these restrictions so well. Don't fret. Relax, calm down. Ignore the press conferences if you have to. There's no need to be upset. New South Wales has a gutsy Premier, an intelligent Chief Health Officer, and Sydney has equal to the world's best ICU and hospital capacity. There won't be a Melbourne-like event in Sydney. We have the most vulnerable successfully vaccinated. That wasn't the case 12 months ago. Our access to massive Pfizer doses is only 9 days away, and we're jabbing with endless supplies of AstraZeneca, a vaccine that has been a massive success story in the UK. Even the Premier today pointed to a change in attitude and behaviour in the past 3 days.
The vast majority of people in our state, especially in the Greater Sydney area, for doing the right thing, it's been noticed. But we need to keep that up. We need to maintain that level of vigilance to start seeing things change. But again, I fear that tomorrow and the few days afterwards will be worse, much worse than what we've seen today. But what we need to be assured of is that the tide will turn once the impact of the changes we've made come to fruition.
So there is no need to panic. The impact, as she said, of adherence will be seen maybe as soon as a week's time as numbers turn because of an adherence to this kind of lockdown. And we're Australian. We harden up, don't we, when things get tough? Which brings me to tennis star Ash Barty. If Sydney-siders and Australians, for that matter, needed a reason to be happy, needed inspiration to cope, well, they got it early this morning.
A dream comes true. Australia's Ash Barty is Wimbledon champion.
So on the 50th anniversary of Yvonne Goolagong-Cawley's first Wimbledon victory, a girl who was inspired by those heroics completed this serendipitous victory on centre court.
I hope I made Yvonne proud.
No.
She sure did. What a superb respect she has, Ash Barty, for the traditions of that game and those that came before her. She even wore a dress that mimicked the tunic worn by a young Yvonne Goolagong 50 years ago. At a time of stress, separation and anxiety, the nation needed this incredible girl and her inspiring victory. So whoever you are, wherever you are, and whatever your situation, we will get through this last outbreak. It's weeks, not months to go. And as those Pfizer jabs arrive in 8 days, the final piece in the puzzle will slot in. We need to think glass half full and maybe even think about the sacrifice and effort that Ash Barty used to reach those heights this morning. A bit of that spread around in lockdown would go a long way.